Colm. What's your last name?
Okay. So you ready?
Yeah, we're going.
Oh,
man.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Hendrick.
Hendrick. Oh, I knew that. I was trying to think exactly what it was. When I emailed you, I was talking about as I was writing it, I was like, this could be offensive. One, because people are sensitive, but two, just out of the pride thing. You're from Ireland or Scotland?
Ireland.
Ireland. And how long have you not been in Ireland?
So I was born in 59.
Yeah.
And I moved over here permanently about 23 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know how it sounds, but I'm going to ask you to get,
Closer?
why don't you adjust it just a little? Yeah. That feels better,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Sure.
Could have been perfect.
Right. Yes.
20 years ago.
23 years ago.
So mid-30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why'd you come
And,
over here?
Work. I was working for a company that was a worldwide company, and they were headquartered in Florida. And so they had a European base, which was in Dublin, which is where I had worked from. But then I assumed a higher role in the organization. They said,
Okay.
so you can either continue in Dublin or go to Florida. So
Yeah. Do you mind? What do you do?
management consulting.
Yeah. You know, when you say that, I think of like The Sopranos. It's like, I'm in the waste management consulting business. You know, like, wait, that's cool.
So so all my life, pretty much all my working life, I've done management consulting.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I go into companies, basically help them make more profit.
Yeah.
And there's,
You're able to kind of look at their books, look at what they're doing.
it's more operational than books.
Sure.
Right. But yeah, you look at their books to see where they're bleeding money or they could make more money or whatever. But yeah, my gig sort of thing is more operational. So I'll go out and kick the tires and see, what exactly is going right, what's going wrong, where they can improve.
Yeah. Now that's the firm you've been with forever, and
No, I was with the same firm for about 25 years. So just going to back up. So I said I've been a consultant all my life. Not quite true. So I left school, high school equivalent in Ireland.
yeah,
And I had no long to go to college. In Ireland, you go to college to get a degree, which is immediate use. You don't have
Okay.
this system of going to college to go to college.
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh no, that's the
Right.
thing now.
So if you want to be a lawyer, you go to college. If you want to go to work in a bank, you don't go to college.
You don't go to college. Nice. Okay.
Right? Any job that doesn't require a professional
Yeah.
degree, you don't go to college. because
Does
there's no need.
Gender studies? Do you go to college in Ireland for gender studies?
Gender studies? I have no idea what that is.
Hey man, you hadn't been there in 23 years. Maybe they do.
Maybe they do. Who
Yeah.
knows? So I decided at that time I was looking around for what I wanted to do. Ireland had just joined the EU, the European Union, and at that time the fishing there was a lot of fishing around the coast of Ireland. And,
Ireland's a big pond. I mean, a big island, right?
big island, right?
Yeah.
And small island.
Small. Yeah.
The fishing fleet was very depleted after many years of neglect. So the EU actually put in place a system whereby they were prepared to grant aid a lot of money to people that wanted to take up a career in fishing.
Yeah.
And so I went off and studied fishing.
Studied fishing.
Yeah. So I went to fishing school up in Greencastle, County Donegal.
Did you retain what you learned?
Well, it's trawler fishing. So,
Okay.
with a trawler, it's a lot easier to
Yeah.
find stuff than it is when you're just, out in a boat.
Sure.
But,
so deep sea, maybe?
Deep sea, yeah.
Yeah.
All deep sea, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so
Every time I think about deep sea fishing, I think about the 2 or 3 or 4 hours on a boat going out.
Right.
And I'm like, man, maybe I don't want to go deep sea fishing. And I'm still up for it, and I'll still think about it. But And maybe you got to pay a little bit extra to get a nicer boat so you don't. I knew a guy that went deep sea fishing, but it was just, I mean, it was a nice fishing boat, but it was just the deck and a little cabin.
Right.
And he would go, and I say cabin, I mean, just so he can get in there when it was raining.
Right.
And he would drive out 2 or 3 hours
Right.
in choppy seas. I'm not one to get sick or anything like that, but I don't want to. That my first experience when I go to do that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so this was on trawlers. So
I don't know what a trawler is.
Oh, sorry, a commercial fishing vessel.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
which likely has living quarters then.
Oh yeah. So you see the guys up in Alaska on that program,
the different shows.
Yeah.
I immediately think of the movie with Mark Wahlberg, but then I've seen a lot of the documentaries.
Right. So the vessels that would be out of Ireland were similar in design, so to speak, but much smaller. About 100-foot vessel.
100 feet, man.
Yeah.
By the way, this is part of this, me pilling around looking up troller. I was going to look up a troller so while we're talking about it. So did that get you going on
well,
that didn't pay the bills?
Well, it was incredibly good to begin with because the offer, as I say, was a lot of grant aided money from the EU and also the Irish government. But soon after, and the money was really good, but soon after they introduced quotas for fishing.
Ooh.
And that just took the bulk of the money away. So I said,
that's some government regulation, right?
Right.
Now, was that
it was an environmental thing, to
maritime thing, or was that a Ireland thing?
Right across the European Union. So all and it's understandable. You can't have everybody just fishing, ad infinitum. Eventually, you run out, right?
Yeah.
You just destroy the seed, and it's gone. So.
I start thinking about the whaling and I've seen a few of those shows with the people that are trying to stop the big whalers and
right.
Kind of a similar approach, I guess.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same here as if you said it was okay to there was all seasons for all hunting, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, it just depleted. There'd be nothing left,
everything.
Right? So same with fishing.
I definitely, I guess, I hunt less because it's during the season. Right. I mean, I guess you get a wild hare in late spring or early spring, or even before November starts. You'd probably shoot them more, and then limiting, like you said, a quota.
Right.
You can only have a certain amount. And that is one of the biggest things that upsets people. I'm talking hunting in Texas is game wardens will find a dead deer, a shot deer, with the back straps pulled out and everything else intact. Right. Of course, the back strap's the most delicious part of the meat, but and that's what upsets folks more than anything.
Sure.
And so if you think about it, there's no limit. You can do anything you want. You shoot 20 deer and you have backstrap steak all year.
Right.
And you're just ruining the whole process.
That goes great for 10 years.
Yeah.
And year 11, there's nothing left,
there's nothing to shoot.
Right.
Okay. Well,
so once they introduced the quotas and the money went away, I decided this was not a career for me. So because I was looking at it as a business.
Yeah.
I liked being out in the water and all that kind of thing, but it was a business. It was I wanted to own a trawler and make big bucks.
Wow. How long did you do that?
I did that for about 2 years.
Okay. And you're just one of the deck guys at this point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was still earning, even though I was only one of the deck guys. I was earning for that time. I was earning a lot of money, and it was all tax free.
Good.
Cash. And the Irish government is not around to listen to this, so that's okay.
Right. What is the kind of taxes general tax rate
in Ireland?
Yeah.
It's a lot higher than here. Typically, you'd end up with 35-40% direct payroll taxes, and then you have what's called spend tax, and that can go up to like 21%. So you're equivalent to your sales tax, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the US it's typically 5 to 7%, maybe 8%.
Yeah.
Well, in Ireland, right across the EU, pretty much it's like it's between 15 and 21%.
So generally, taxes in the U.S. are pretty small
Compared to Europe, yeah,
compared to
for
Europe.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm sure a few others, but I guess I wouldn't know much more about that. So, and I'm thinking like,
So the way I look at it here is that, and it's just a number in my mind is that by the time I pay property taxes and my income taxes, I'm in the region of 30%.
you're right. Property
Right?
taxes alone
Right.
will get you caught up.
Right. In Ireland, if I was to roll up all the taxes, I would definitely be. I'm guessing 45%.
Okay.
So that's a big difference.
Yeah, and again, like you just said, sales tax at 8, income is 15 to 20, but then you got every little vehicle registration, every little thing that you sin tax. If you get cigarettes or dip,
Right.
I mean everything adds up.
Right.
And obviously it's still less, but so I've heard from you. Bashes on America. Of course, it's so easy to bash America right now, and bashes on Ireland. And it's just when I say that, I'm not saying like you're being negative, but it's just chatter and talk about different things going on. I think it's very common and easy to bash on, especially what's going on right now with the protests and rioting. It's so easy to say America sucks, but like you and your job, but many people still seek to come to here, and it sounds like you're a well-to-do guy, and you weren't seeking refuge, right?
Right.
I was kind of course, I'm the one here. I don't know what it's like in other countries. I've traveled to more or less third world countries that sometimes I'm like, this is kind of nice. The weather's perfect and they're family oriented. It's close to the sea, so they have good fresh food. Anyway, I was kind of curious about one like political strife in Ireland. The one thing you forget is how much older it is. I mean, Ireland's ancient compared to America. I mean, America's so 876, and we're going on 250 years, I guess. Whereas Ireland's 1,250 years or 1,500 years.
We are, but we've only had independence from England the last one was England, but prior to that, since 1921. So
okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting stat. So, and you say independence from England,
right?
So
Ireland has been invaded by virtually every country that ever invaded any country. Going way, way back, thousands of years.
Yeah.
It was like if you think of Bourbon Street being party central, right?
Yeah.
Well, Ireland was party central if you wanted to invade a country.
If you want to invade a country,
thousands of years,
invade central.
Yeah.
So let me stop right there. So I learn American history through college.
Right.
I don't learn Ireland history, or I guess very, very basic, European history, I guess. Or you take a specific class. But I guess growing up in Ireland, did you learn a lot more detailed? I guess the same thing. It's hard to compare it.
More detail about Ireland or America?
Well, like you said, I wonder if I should have known that Ireland just declared independence from England in 1921. Like, is that something
It's difficult. Like, people are students of different things.
Yeah.
And, so a school teaches you so much, but then after school, depending on what your interests are, you
pick up on
different things. So before I came to the States, I didn't know nearly as much as I do now.
Okay. Well, you gotten older, I guess, and books are sometimes more appealing, and
it could be that, but it's also I have a hunger for knowing what I'm talking about. So so you mentioned earlier about bashing on the U.S. or Ireland or whatever. I never bash on the U.S. or Ireland for that matter, or any group as a total. I do get serious problems with individuals or groups
Sure.
or whatever that they're that I believe are just plain wrong, right?
Right.
And that doesn't make me right, but I believe they're wrong.
Yeah,
right?
I like
So
that, and that's one of the reasons I think I've had you on, because we've had a few conversations where we don't necessarily agree 100%, but we're able to kind of share our thoughts and opinions on it. And I feel like I've learned, that's one of the reasons it's kind of fun. So, today I was kind of reading up on a lot of the rioting. And what's so interesting is I just really feel like, I mean, there's obviously folks who are on the low end of the spectrum in terms of economic ability, family, whatever you call it. And that loot,
mhm.
if they get a new pair of shoes for the first time in a couple of years, I mean, you can't, I mean, I don't, point is, I'm not for it and I won't support it. But it seems like a majority of, I'm going to say, Black America are down for a peaceful protest, to go out, and whether it be Colin Kaepernick kneeling, that may have annoyed me at one time. Now I almost wish for something like that.
Right.
Whether it be just going to City Hall and holding signs and doing chants or whatever it is. And it seems like that this Antifa group, and again, I don't know. Okay, so one of the stories I saw was pallets of bricks being placed in downtown areas.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And I've seen videos of
you've seen it? Okay,
Yeah, I've
I
seen
haven't
it.
seen it, right.
So, hey, look, I saw it on the internet. Okay, was the video taken 10 years ago before a construction project was starting
Right.
on that corner?
Right.
And it looked like a live video from, in a downtown area, that it was true. But just for that to be brought up and addressed in multiple cities, that's organized. That's not.
Yeah, there's no question. Like, first of all, I think everybody right now has the right to be upset.
Yeah.
No question. And when I look at the marches, I see, I don't know if it's equal quantities, but it's certainly mixed, black,
Yeah.
white,
No doubt, no
whatever.
doubt, no
There's, it's not the marches are not, one part of the community. It's community pissed off with this situation.
I'll say that the clear-cut wrongness in this police officer's actions was probably one of the best things that could happen in this. Got to be careful saying that, but I mean, no one has said he was right.
Right.
Even the most, look, I'm a cop guy, working with the city, Grand Prairie police officers. Our department is one of the best in the country, and I'll stand by that. People will contact our department from all over the world, literally, to learn from us.
Right.
Our former chief is now our city manager over police. He taught classes all over the state in de-escalation.
Cool.
So it's easy. I'm sitting there as a leader in my city saying, how can I help? And I'm going, man, here in Grand Prairie, we can't do a whole lot different.
But I think we can't, I think to just look at it and say, because the cop did what he did, the riots ensued. I think that's way too simplistic. I think it's a much, much bigger issue than that.
Sure.
And I think the fact that the racial mix of people, when you see them out marching, I think reflects that, which is that it's not a black thing anymore. It's a total body of U.S. people, rightly so, saying enough is enough. This is BS.
Now, do you think that's beyond policing? Or are you saying just
it's way beyond policing?
Yeah.
Way beyond police. Policing is,
Yeah.
They're the guys that, when they show up, people pull out their cell phones,
Yeah.
right?
I get it.
But what about the other guy, a couple of weeks back, when he was shot by that by that father and son, right? It was fortunate there was that people around him had cell phones and.
Oh yeah. Aubrey,
right, exactly, yeah.
Ahmaud Aubrey,
right. But how many other instances are going on like that where there's no cell phone around?
Before cell phones,
before cell phone, or even now with cell phones, but they're nobody thinks they're going to get attacked.
Yeah,
and people are just,
especially in racist deep South, right? Like,
but it goes. I think it goes to one of the fundamental things which I believe is, and I think I might have said this to you before, is wrong with American society right now, which is, and to me it goes back to the origin of reality TV. Sure. Prior to reality TV, and I put the beginning of reality TV approximately around the time of Big Brother started. I don't know if that's exactly right, but
so I can remember in the 90s watching MTV did Real World. It's easy, but they would get 7 people, guys and girls, put them in a house and start filming.
Right,
and that was reality TV, and of course it was a major hit. Of course, then it was literally, I think they had a cop, a female police officer. They had this old cowboy. They had like a black comedian, a black lady, a nice young lady, and then more of an edgy lady. Whatever it was. It was a good mix of people. And then 5-10 years later, it's just all of them sorority girls and sorority guys. Big muscles, big boobs, and just put them in a room, see how much arguing and sex they could.
Yeah, but you see, that started, to me, like prior to that, TV was all about, to a certain extent, not totally, but to a certain extent, the golden rule, do unto others, et cetera,
I'm a big fan of that.
Was applied, right?
Yeah.
But with the advent of reality TV, that went out the window. That went completely out the window.
Sure.
Right? Because it actually, now the inverse became the popular, right? The inverse being, rather than do unto others as you'd have, I need to stab you in the back in order for me to do well.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, because you know what? I'll get more likes on Facebook if I do that.
Yeah.
I'll get more hits on Twitter if I do that, right? The more I damn you, the more I down you, the more I curse you, right? The more hits I get. Yeah. And that's, to me, is the beginning of a lot of the problems here, which is that the basic morals of people have gone to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
So now it's not a black-white thing. It's not a whatever race thing. It's that a lot of crap is okay to do.
Yeah.
That was never okay to do before.
More acceptable.
And people now, that's why I think the marches are so reflective of the entire nation, which is people are just saying enough.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the guy on with his knee on the neck of the unfortunate gentleman that passed away. It's what people are saying about it. It's the low moral values. That's what they're, because he was challenged. Think about it. He was challenged 3 or 4 times by his buddy, who said, I think you should let up, or whatever it was he said. But he indicated that, enough is enough, right? Whatever his words were, right? And he chose
pure pride.
Right. He chose not to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because in my mind, he's got absolutely no morals whatsoever.
Yeah. This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw pride. I saw him saying, I'm doing my job. I'm holding this guy down, and now that these people standing around me are trying to tell me how to do my job, screw you. I'm holding this guy down, and he was doing it the wrong way and killed him. It was pure.
Yeah, but it comes back to me that that guy. The one thing with the golden rule is it teaches you where the red line is. Yeah. Right.
So if he's practicing the golden rule, he's saying, okay, he's down, he's up. If I were in this situation, I'd let up.
Yeah, he knows that he's where the line is, right? And he knows when he goes over the line.
Yeah.
But if you don't practice the golden rule, there are no lines. Golly. You make up the lines as you go along, right? And so in that particular instance, he decided, and it was a decision. I'm absolutely convinced it was a decision.
Yeah, there was a point where he knew. He stuck with it.
He stuck with it, right? I'm not saying that he knew that he killed him or was killing him or whatever, but he knew that this was beyond anything which was reasonable. But he decided that was okay to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stick with your guns, right? Like.
Whatever.
It seems like sometimes it seems like a good idea, but half the time it doesn't work out, or more than half the time it doesn't work out.
But back to your comment earlier on Antifa, and I'm sure, I know actually Antifa is an organization I know nothing about, other than hearing it in the news. But
the approach is anarchists,
right? And they're on the left, right?
Well, that's the thing. I even wrote that down today when we were talking, knowing what I was going to talk to you. I mean, I got folks on the left who completely believe that they're a right-wing institution, right? Yeah. And I got folks, of course, everybody on the right thinks it's a left-wing institution.
But just the only point I was going to make is that there are anarchists on the left and the right.
Yeah.
It's these people. If you go to the FBI and all of these people, they'll tell you they can point out the guys that show up at every event.
Yeah.
Right? They are the anarchists.
Yeah.
Be they left or right. They see an opportunity, they want anarchy.
So, and that's what sucks. And look, I'm not necessarily a Trump guy, but if he says they're the problem, that's one thing I can agree with. And the reason I say that is because here we are in a situation in our country where we're, like you said, people have had enough, and it's not black people versus white people. We've got groups. You even have police protesting with folks. I mean, people are saying, let's come together. And it seems like the agitators, the rioters, and the looters begin with this Antifa group. And I'm not trying to...
I don't think so. I think they're just anarchists.
Simply, you're saying that it doesn't matter what's going on. They're not...
They don't care.
To take advantage. Yeah.
They're anarchists.
That makes sense.
Left and right. Yeah.
In the sense that they're, whether it's opportunists, right?
Sure.
So anarchists, also opportunists. And I've read that a lot of them know that they live in mom's basement and they probably jobless, and probably a lot of them aren't, and maybe that's what makes them that way. Oh wow, man, this is crazy. Of course, we've been told that they exist here in Grand Prairie.
I'm sure.
It's just that they exist. I'm almost taking it as if it's this entity that you should be fearful of, right? And maybe to a certain extent you can, but they're definitely the minority. It's just they make the loudest noise. Maybe. I mean, this is all new, man. I'm trying to figure out how we allow them to.
When I grew up in Ireland, we had what was called the Troubles going on in Northern Ireland, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, but so when Ireland was in 1921, when we got our freedom from the British, there were four areas in Ireland: Munster, Leinster, Connacht, and Ulster. They're like states, so to speak, and Ulster was kept by the British as part of the agreement, which is one of the states, so to speak, in the north of the country.
No way.
And it's still to this day that way. Yeah.
Are they citizens of England?
Yes.
They're in Ireland, on the island?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's like Portugal, right? Inside of Spain almost. Like you got this humongous country in the little tiny.
Right. But in 1969 there was peace marches, and the peace marches were the main effort in those marches was to secure equal human rights between the Catholics, who were Irish pretty much, and the Protestants, who were English, right? The Protestants who were English always got the better jobs.
A Protestant, by definition, is that more just like Christian or non-Catholic? I should know that.
Protestants, I don't know how to equate them over here.
Yeah.
I don't know what their equivalent is, but Catholics are, report to Rome, basically. The Protestant religion grew from Henry VIII when he broke off.
Okay.
So in essence, the only difference between Catholicism and Protestantism, and I'm sure if your listeners are well versed than I am, they will correct me, but the major difference is Protestants don't believe in the Virgin Mary.
Okay.
And they don't take the Eucharist at Mass.
That sounds kind of like Christian. I mean, pretty close.
Oh, they are Christians.
Yeah,
100%
Christian,
Christians. Yeah.
So and Christian is not Catholic. Are Catholics considered Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
Christians are
Believe in Christ.
Believe in Christ.
Yeah.
And so a subdivision of that will be Catholicism and Protestantism.
Okay.
Yeah. And many other religions too.
Sure.
So the reason I'm telling you that is because those riots turned nasty, et cetera, and that was the time when the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, started up. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, but the point is, to your point earlier, which is, they live in Grand Prairie. I had neighbors, and they were part of the. I didn't know.
Yeah.
These were regular guys, but they were out there, and they were prepared to shoot people and cause havoc in order to pursue their agenda. So yeah, they're your neighbor.
So you and I both live. We're neighbors, more or less,
right?
And we live. It's not a metropolitan area, but we live sort of close to a downtown area,
right?
Can you? I mean, the event where their downtown is getting torn up and it extends down your street. Have you imagined that scenario in your head? I mean, what you got to?
No,
I just can't. I mean, I guess my mind does think about it, but I also think I think part of my thought process is it's not going to happen. I don't see that as a thing at all. Maybe it's because I've lived in Grand Prairie and we've done really well at handling things that might happen. But
yeah, no, I'll be honest, it's not even crossed my mind the possibility of something like that happening. Thank God, right?
Yeah,
and
that's because it won't happen, more or less, or you just don't think about that type of thing.
I think one of the so do I know it won't happen? Obviously not.
By the way, we're like one of the only cities that don't have a curfew.
Yeah, but here's the deal. If you're gonna have a march, if you're gonna do something, you want to be noticed. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
If it goes back to the old question of if a tree falls, right?
That's what protests with no coverage.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be coming to Grand Prairie.
Yeah, because they won't get any.
Nothing. Nobody's going to know about it, right?
That's a good point, man. That's a really good point. And I thought about that because of the curfews and them getting kicked out of the bigger cities, so they start coming to the suburbs or whatever. It's a non-issue. I kind of like going down that rabbit hole sometimes. Just kind of because, like you said, what made you think of it? You said your neighbor is ready to go, and it's not now, but you had a neighbor ready to go, ready to shoot somebody, or whatever that definition is. You think, I wonder if there's guys, around here that you hear the weapons going off because some guys in the street looting.
Yeah. So
I mean, this is Texas, man.
So I was going to say, so growing up in Ireland, I other than a farmer having a shotgun to protect his livestock, I was never even aware of a gun.
Yeah.
Right? That was it. Shotgun.
Yeah.
Double barrel shotgun. That's the only thing you ever see. Police don't have guns. Nobody has guns. Over
Police
here,
don't have guns. That's interesting.
Over here, I would imagine that these uncertain times have caused people, well, not I would imagine, I know that these uncertain times, because you hear the stories from the gun shows and the gun stores, they can't keep up with demand, right?
Yeah.
So people are ready to protect themselves.
It's definitely a culture. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm a big fan of the way our Constitution was written up, and I think it sets for the amendment. Not only is it a genius piece of paper, it has a very clear amendment process, which means we can change it.
Right.
If it's 50-50 all the time, it truly is just a difference in people, right? But if it's obvious something's wrong, you're going to get that major majority. I forget something. Anyway, 66% to get an amendment. And I say all that because this was written by men who were occupied by another country and realized the importance of being able to protect yourself. I am a Second Amendment guy, but I'm not saying that. I think it comes with training, right? I think, like, I took a hunter safety course.
Right.
We shot 10 different guns in the hunter safety course. And if we moved the wrong way or did something the wrong way, they would get on our ass immediately.
Right.
Anyway, it says shall not be infringed upon, right?
Right.
And so I always kind of go back to that, right? Like, ultimately, I think about your island. There's no guns. There's a shotgun. There's the cops don't have guns. So I mean, there's not. I mean, you might get beat up. I believe you can kill somebody with a knife. I believe you can kill multiple people with a knife. And now they're using trucks, right? I mean,
sure.
I'm not saying that, but I think I imagine a world without guns at all might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of not being able to hunt. I don't like the idea of, listen, I was taught to handle a gun from a young age.
Right.
So and that's part of this conversation. You and I have completely different upbringings, and I don't mean specific to guns. I mean everything. I was talking to my dad about this the other day. Me and my dad are almost spitting images at times. Two completely different upbringings, though.
Right.
So as much as we look alike, more or less, and as much as our habits and actions are alike, we're different people.
You know, the history, speaks largely to, I think, the gun thing in the U.S. So going back to the day of the cowboys and all that kind of thing, like. There was never a cowboy alive, and not an American style cowboy in Ireland or England or anywhere in Europe for that matter.
That's a good point.
Right? We
farmers,
just farmers, right?
And the cowboys came from settling, more or less. Cowboys came from settling the Western territory, right?
Right.
So when the farmers came into Ireland, however many years ago, did they have Native Americans to kick off the land, right? I mean, that has to go deep. That would have to go deep, far back to
the best of my knowledge, the original indigenous people are still there.
Very cool.
To the best of my knowledge, it's a good question though. I must look it up to be 100% sure. But to the best of my knowledge, there was never a culling, so to speak, of indigenous people.
So it'd be Ireland.
But the indigenous, the Irish people, in turn, which I suppose were the indigenous people, were in turn invaded by just about everybody who tried to kill them off, but never succeeded.
The first thing that pops up here, see, tribes in Ireland, culture of Ireland's first people. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a whole thing. We have to get into it.
Yeah, there were kings and all that kind of thing. But
what was the time frame for Braveheart? 1500s?
I think so. Yeah, that was Scotland.
And that was Scotland. I want to do that so I can try to see if that wasn't on purpose, but I need to start doing that on purpose to see if I can catch you. But so that was the same idea, right? It was.
Yeah, well, back in those days, like you had in Ireland, you had invaders from just about everybody, and then the Irish in turn tried to invade Scotland many times.
Yeah, if you think about it, there couldn't be indigenous. It was probably invaded so many times for so many years. It might have been.
No, there was the original. Like I say, I don't think there was a indigenous persons like I think a lot of the indigenous people are like Aboriginal, as defined, right?
This does say Celts, the Celts,
the Celts,
Celtic, Celtics,
yeah.
And that's the only.
But that's the same people that are there today,
right.
Yeah.
Because it seems like just people kept coming and going there for so long. That was probably talk about melting pot.
I'm telling you.
I mean,
the
you still-
original. I'm telling you, it was like Bourbon Street back in the day.
Yeah.
Come to Ireland, party, pillage, rape, plunder.
I watched that
And then
show,
leave.
the Vikings, when
Right.
it came on. That was really good. And I can imagine them getting in a boat and just going, showing up on the shores and
Right.
seeing who to fight. So the idea would be, as a Christian, I'm to believe that there were these tribes in I don't know, Iraq and northern Africa, that then split up and went across. Of course, then the American Indians would have been when the Bering Straits was there and crossed
Right.
over, and that could have been 4,000 years before Christ, or
Right.
and then you got the whole Noah thing, Noah and the Ark,
Right.
flooding the world. And trust me, before I say that, I'm a Christian, but part of my Christianity is questioning a lot of the
Right.
stories,
Right.
and the time frames as well. But I guess Europeans are the same idea, they just got whiter faster. I don't know. I mean,
Right.
they came up north more.
Well, I don't know where the whiteness of the blackness comes from. Obviously, other than white is Northern Europe, and the further south you go, you get darker for sure. Like Spanish are more dark than Scandinavians.
Well, I always thought like Africa, and God, this is almost could be insensitive, but it's a lot of desert. So black people have been under the sun for the thousands of years.
I have no idea.
And if I have dark skin and my son has dark skin and his son has dark skin, because it would make sense that it grows that way.
Right. Well, if you take a look at Scandinavia, Russia, etc., which are two of the main blocks at the top.
Pasty white,
right? Then you get down to Spain, Portugal, that kind of thing.
Yep.
They're darker, more sallow, right?
Yeah.
And then you just go further down, and you're into Morocco, across the Mediterranean, and now you're darker. And then you're into Africa.
The whole African
that
continent.
is part of the continent.
And if you get down to South Africa, it's more white, but that's because of the British.
The British and the Afrikaans.
Okay.
The Afrikaans were Dutch.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I like one of my goals is to get a history, geography type, guest, and just kind of go down those rabbit holes,
Right.
Figuring out where we come from, and that's the idea. Is I think the historians say that we all came from black, or we were all
Right.
the first men were black. What's cool is based on where the Garden of Eden or wherever man began,
Right.
was pretty dang close to that.
Right.
we're all from that area. Anyway, I enjoy this is right now is a good time to learn. It's a good time to kind of dissect. It's a good time to self-reflect. It's a good time to kind of check yourself, know where you're at on these subjects. And do I got to sit there and worry about whether people are going to think I'm insensitive because I didn't do a social media blackout?
Well, that's
that's kind of where you started with the whole doing wrong is so popular now.
right.
Casting that. And I just read a book, Dan Crenshaw, the Houston congressman, freaking Navy SEAL.
Right.
It was Fortitude, and he started off by talking about the outrage culture,
Right.
and how it's like popular to be outraged,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and they say stay outraged, and from an I'm going to say anarchist, but from a rebellious and question your leaders approach, that's not a horrible thing. Like I said, I'm a Christian. I constantly question
Right.
the Bible. But it has become to a point where it's almost popular to say, why are you wearing that yellow shirt? It should be that's offensive to my. I can make it up from there. I mean, I don't know.
Right. Well, that goes back to the one of the topics I mentioned to you as a potential discussion point, which is how PC we've all become.
Political correct.
You
Yeah.
know, it's that to me is absolute and total BS.
Well, I'm going to run with that, and this is going to upset some people, but I don't but we're talking about it. Retard.
Right.
Sitting in middle school class, calling somebody a retard is offensive, and I agree with that.
Right.
However, the term retard is slow, and,
Right.
and if you say he's mentally retarded, it means he's mentally slow. I can't say that anymore.
Right.
And I had a girlfriend I was seeing for a little bit, and she worked with handicapped kids, and I said something along the lines of, and now I said, is he retarded or is he she goes, what? I mean, she about lit into me.
Right.
And I wasn't, again, the middle school, high school bullies saying you're a retard or whatever. I get it. That was the first time I realized I have to watch my speech patterns. To somebody you're even, that was a friendly relationship I had with them. You make one slip up, it's done. So,
but that goes back to the golden rule as well, too.
Sure.
You know, which is, do unto others. So, do you think it's in line with the golden rule to chastise others for their ignorance, for example? So let's say in that situation, I'm not saying you are ignorant, but let's say in that situation, that was not a down on your part. It was simply a lack of information about the sensitivity of the person to whom you were speaking, right?
okay, yeah, good point.
All right. And that person then took offense at that, right? That to me is breaking the golden rule because they didn't take your side.
Yeah,
They didn't do unto others as they would have done to themselves. They chose to do their own thing.
that's
right?
a good point.
Right? Which is immediately say, Cole, you're going to hell and damnation because you use the word retard, right? So rather than turning around and saying, hey, listen, Cole, you may not be aware, but I take offense to that because X, Y, Z. It's like, no, you're wrong, Cole, right?
So it was better, easier, and perhaps more popular to be outraged at my comment.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's
More
what
popular,
happened. And what I would have liked to have had done to me, and I think that person would have had done to them, is what you just said. Hey, I don't agree with that use of words.
I went to I was very late, and I love snow skiing, but I was very late to it. Like I was 35, something like that, years of age.
Snow skiing.
Before I ever set on skis. But I went to one ski school one time and met the ski instructor. I had to have a ski instructor. I couldn't learn myself. So this guy was amazing. His name was John, and he managed to teach me to ski without ever once telling me I was wrong. Okay. Never once. Even though, obviously, I was screwing up every 5 minutes.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the nature of learning to ski. You fall down, right?
Yeah.
And he managed, for 2 days of 3 hours one morning, 4 hours the following morning, I think, something like that. He managed to teach me to ski, and not once did he tell me I was wrong.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, right? And here you are, you use a wrong word, and somebody's down your throat.
Well, and
right?
I begin to question myself.
Right.
I've always thought I was a pretty good dude.
Right.
And so again, I'll go back to Christianity. Christ. I try to do what Christ taught, right? And I try to follow the golden rule. And I really think that I don't have a moral superiority. Sometimes maybe I do. So I
right.
know, but suddenly now I'm questioning my whole being because I said this word that, you know what? If it really, because the reality of it is, if it offended that kid, the handicapped kid, I would feel bad and I would need to correct it.
There's a way of using all these words, and the way that you, if you said, "Are you retarded?" I wouldn't even occur to me that you just used the word, right?
Yeah.
If you said to a kid or to an adult for that matter, right?
Yeah.
You F and R, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now that's a whole different context because now I know you're directly insulting the guy or the gal, right?
So you've got so you got your tone of voice and context there, right? That you're comparing. Right. So then dice that up when you're commenting on a social media platform, right? Like that makes it even more difficult.
Right. I don't do social media, by the way. I think it's complete.
I'll say
complete and utter waste.
I'll say well done. I am a millennial, so by definition, I was on social media when it was invented, right? And I was at the prime age of social media when social media, like, it was made for me when I was that age, if that makes sense. So before I was on council, I got off of it. I take that back. I put everything private, one picture, and I kept it for my business.
Right. Makes sense.
I'm sorry. I deleted it, got it back on, and put it, just for the business.
Makes sense.
And then with being politically active in my city, I want to be available. If they're going to trust me with their vote, with their whatever it is, my ability to serve, that helps my ability to serve.
Right.
And then, like the podcast here, I've got a little Hot and Cold Podcast Instagram page.
Right.
And I'll post little pictures of my bobblehead dolls, or coming soon, Colm. So it has its advantages if used properly. So if you were to start your own consulting business, it wouldn't be a horrible idea.
Sure. I absolutely agree.
Outside of that, it's just a problem waiting to happen. Relationships, even, the direct messages they have, people emailing you direct messages, guys hitting on girls that have boyfriends, or guys hitting on, I mean, it's just a can of worms. And not only that, because I have those pages, I end up spending time that I'd rather not want to spend scrolling down those rabbit holes. It's fun though, man. It is. I mean, it's where we're at.
Right.
I like the comments, like, we're just monkeys in a big experiment right now under the sun. If you believe in evolution, you see a monkey, you're like, that was us.
Right.
we got lucky and evolved a little bit more than they did.
Sure.
Tapping on your phones. Well, cool, man. Man, we've chatted for an hour. I've enjoyed it. If I cut it now, you have to promise we'll do this again.
Sure.
We can fill time, and I like filling as much time as possible, but I also want people to not get bored out of their minds.
The next time let's get a little bit more into the things I mentioned to you, if we have the opportunity, which is about being PC or not. What is PC? And the other thing I want to, and that goes into the herd mentality too. And just a quick example.
Well, let's roll with that, because I'm a big fan of that.
Of the herd mentality.
Of the heart.
Herd.
Nice.
Herd.
Yeah. So what were you saying?
So, just a quick example, and I won't belabor the point, but, for example, when we have all this recent, COVID shutdown, blah, 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 right? So you know that we got, quite a few stores around here. We got, I'm talking about grocery stores.
Stores, yeah.
Yeah, we got the Mexican store.
Yeah. So Rio Grande, Terry's, Kroger. No. It's Albertsons.
Right, and then Walmart, right?
Sure. Okay. Then you got gas stations.
And all that.
And convenience stores.
Right. So I don't know how much shopping you did during that time, but I like to shop. Grocery shop. I like
grocery shop.
Yeah. But you couldn't get within a mile of Walmart. I mean, literally.
Because the lines
of people. I went in there one day shortly after the lockdown, and it was like there was a line for the register as though it was Armageddon. And it went all the way down the store, around a couple of aisles. And
I want to be clear. You were part of that.
No, I
you
went
were.
in. No, I went in, and I left.
And you left. Yeah, couldn't handle it. I agree. I steered
There
very clear.
was something specific that I needed that wasn't available in all those other stores. It was in the I forget what section it was, but anyway, it wasn't available in the other stores.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, okay, so I can't get it. That's fine. Yeah. And from then on, I just avoid going to Walmart. But you see the lines every day. You know, everybody's talking about it. Meanwhile, I walk into Rio Grande every day, right? No lines. Yeah. Nice people. Everything is on the shelf virtually.
Yeah.
They ran out of toilet paper for about a week, I think. That was it.
So I'm a big fan of Rio Grande.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you what I'm going to say. White America it doesn't like, or white Grand Prairie does. I think this is common. So I don't mind being a little edgy with the comment. It has a meat smell, a bloody meat smell, throughout the whole store. And
it has a smell, but I never associated with bloody meat. But yeah, I know.
And people just think that's dirty and
Right.
gross. And I go there. I lived on Southeast 3rd, just around the corner from there, for about 2 years. So that was that's
Right.
where I got my groceries.
Sure.
I'm just closer to Albertsons now, and I would get that meat.
I'd buy meat in there all the time.
They would have all kinds of flavors and spiced up and then just regular. And I mean, the variety was amazing.
Still is.
Oh, it was a big fan. And their produce section superior to any other produce section.
And a third of the price.
Right. There you go. Exactly. What's up with that? I just don't get it, man. There's an argument, like Albertsons does carry some of the organic. I put quotes up there because some of the stuff I don't even know if that's really organic. But that is separate from the other produce. And the other produce that's similar is not.
Right.
I don't know if it's a brand that they've kept for so long. If it's the rent, that building was not used for years.
Right.
Now, they probably got it for a dime, and so that they're able to charge lower prices.
Maybe they just charge realistic prices.
Realistic. I like that.
Yeah.
I'll go with
I go in there all the
realistic.
time. I think it's great. I think it's a great store. But the other thing is, right? So you think this herd mentality, this PC-ness, which is, it's all, to me, it's all linked, right? Shopping, Walmart, right? Home repair, Home Depot,
Yeah.
right? None of those stores you could get into for the last month.
For the last,
right?
I haven't been
Right.
because of that.
Right.
I'm a Home Depot guy,
Right.
and I've not been.
Meanwhile, Rio Grande, you can walk in and buy as much toilet paper as you want.
Yeah.
You can walk across the street to Ace Hardware, get all the hardware you want, right?
Yeah.
No lines, no nothing, right?
Yeah. So the
I mean,
argument
how
is
stupid is this?
Yes, the argument is why. What you're saying is why are they going to Walmart and Home Depot and not Ace and Rio Grande?
Right.
And it's this mentality that, well, I'll tell it's marketing. There's no doubt about it. Where do you go? Where do I go to home improvement? I've seen Home Depot commercials on every NASCAR and television show that I watch, and I see Walmart. I don't see Ace Hardware commercials. I don't think. I definitely don't see Rio Grande.
I agree with you that it's marketing.
Yeah.
I agree with you that 100%. But at a certain time, when you think you'd switch off the marketing switch and say, hang on, isn't there another grocery store around here? Isn't there another hardware store around here?
And for anyone,
or am I going to stand here in front of Home Depot for an hour waiting to buy something that's available in Ace Hardware?
Yeah. And for anyone claiming to be short on funds, if you complain to be short on money, I got a way to fix it for you. I can get your produce at half the price,
Right.
half a mile away from Albertsons.
Right.
Hey, I go to Albertsons. That's just
Well,
convenience.
I do
for
too.
me now,
There's certain things. Certain things I'll go to Rio Grande for, and certain things I'll go to Albertsons for. And I avoid Walmart like the plague.
Kroger went out when Kroger went out of business. Were y'all here when Kroger went out of business?
It closed just about the time we got here.
Yeah, and Albertsons cleanliness, product selection took a step up, and it's amazing how much of a selling point cleanliness is.
Sure.
Especially those with, I'm going to say, extra funds. Like, if you somehow that makes you say, I can afford the nicer things, which means the nicer floors and the clean deal. Generally, I understand we're all different.
But here's the thing. So you mentioned marketing of the Walmarts, the Home Depots, etc. And you're 100% right. The other thing, though, is that if you look at Rio Grande and the selection of stuff that's available in there, there's a huge portion of the store, greater portion of the store, dedicated to stuff that you got to prepare yourself than if you take an Albertsons or a Walmart.
No
right?
doubt. Yeah.
Because the people that use that store still know the value of stuff,
Home cooked meals
and home cooked meals, right?
Yeah.
So if one of the other things that really
It's more ingredient driven.
Yeah, one of the other things that really pissed me off during this pandemic is the things people run out of, which are totally unnecessary. Yeah,
Things that people are running out of.
Yeah, diapers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you have diapers when you were growing up? Did your parents have diapers?
I actually remember the cloth. Not that I'm not saying we use that all the time, but I remember.
But you remember it.
Yeah, oh yeah, diapers was
So let's say you had an older brother or older sister or whatever. That would have been cloth.
Tell me that again. My brother wouldn't have had
diapers. Like, I don't know why your diapers were invented.
Okay, yeah.
Disposable diapers. I'm talking about
disposable diapers.
But why is it during a pandemic that nobody can use cloth?
Just for even if it's just for the couple months or whatever.
Right. And what's the problem?
How long have diapers been around? Is that a newer
thing? It's got to be in your Google.
Seriously, man.
Google it.
That's hilarious. No, because I do remember having cloth diapers as a kid, and remember, I'm a young man.
I know.
I just turned 38.
When were diapers invented?
Yeah.
Disposable diapers.
Disposable diapers.
Google will tell us.
I'm
guessing around the 80s.
I was born in 82. Created in 42 in Sweden.
Oh, well, no.
But that was created.
Yeah.
Right? And that was a disposable diaper. A couple of things in the 50s. Started marketing them in 61. So the 60s they started marketing them. So, but for them to be a regular thing.
When were Pampers invented? Might be a better question.
Well, I think that's exactly what the product was. Pampers.
Oh yeah.
Vic Mills, an employee of Procter & Gamble, loved the idea of disposable diapers and used them on a vacation with his grandson. However, he was unhappy with many aspects of these original disposables and began developing a better product that came into the market in 1961. That was known as Pampers. And in the intervening years, it would come to dominate paper baby diaper landscape.
Cool.
But, so, again, I was born in 82, and I use cloth diapers. And my mom's not like, I mean, she's actually more hippie now. She has the essential oils and yoga and all that stuff. She didn't do that when she was raising us. Right. I mean, she was just trying to get by. And so it was common. It said, and it even says here, although cloth diapers took a back seat to disposables during the 70s and 80s, they made a huge comeback during the 90s due to the concern of environmental issues. So 80s and 90s, what I was talking about, cloth did come back. So did they run out of I mean, was that another run?
That was another one of the runs. Yeah,
man.
It's you got to question, like, when you look at so we're talking about grocery stores, right? So we're talking about the selection available in Walmart versus Albertsons.
Let me say, is it handling shit? I mean, is that the thing? I mean,
I suppose it is.
People don't. They put it in the disposable diaper, it throws in the trash. They ain't got to mess with it. Actually having to wash a towel and put it back on their baby, they think they
probably think that's unsanitary somehow or another.
That's it. There's no doubt. That's a mental thing that we can't get over. I mean, if your current washing machine can't wash shit out of a towel,
right?
And again, I don't do that. I think I toss the towel, but the idea is it's clean.
Right.
You cleaned it.
Right.
If you don't believe in that, why do you have soap in your
right
in your shower?
Right. But it goes to one of the other points too, which is that the marketing of things make people believe other than the truth. Yeah. So like the diaper thing, it's hygienic, it's easy, it's blah 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 blah.
Convenience.
Right. So eventually people, they think that anything other than that is wrong. Right. Like shaving cream is one of my favorite things. Right. Who the hell needs shaving cream?
Yeah.
Nobody needs shaving cream.
The last shave cream, I guess the only way I don't know how else to call it, was like primarily butter based or oil based. It wasn't a cream or a gel, right? Or do you just go straight razor with no cream at all?
I just soap it up.
Soap.
But my point is that if you go and you look in the shopping basket of people, you'll probably find that 20% of the things that are in there are just marketing,
mass marketed.
They're no benefit to them personally, other than somehow or another feeling that they fit in.
Hey man, I can get into this. Is all related. So, one of the biggest things I hope we take away from COVID-19 is that you need to take care of yourself a little bit better.
Right.
And yeah, hey, if you're old and have a condition, you're likely to pass. But even if you're old and have a condition, there's ways to take care of yourself. And there's ways that people my age cannot be old with a condition by taking care of your body, right?
Right.
We will shut down the entire government, shut down the entire nation, so we won't catch the flu, right? But if we shut down the entire nation because you won't eat a salad every other day, that's not going to happen, right? Like, my point is building the immunity, eating healthy, simple exercise. I'm not talking about P90X every day to build heavy muscles and a six pack. I'm just talking about get your heart up.
Right.
Raise the average beat of your heart for about 20 or 30 minutes, right?
The funny thing. So I go for a walk every morning.
Okay.
I take my dog.
I'm a walker. I do walks.
I go for anywhere from 1.5 miles to 3 miles, depending on the day and whatever. So in doing that, I've become pretty familiar with the town of Grand Prairie, right?
Okay.
Because I walk all over. My house is in the middle of town.
Yeah.
I walk all over.
Cool.
Right? There are 2 other people that I see in the morning.
2.
That is it. And if I count it, that's on a regular basis. If I counted all the people that I've seen since I moved here and started walking, it would be 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, man.
And I can tell you exactly who they are.
Yeah.
There's a homeless lady that is on Main Street every morning, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy that opens up the funeral home every morning.
Yeah.
He's there every morning, right? There's a guy that walks his dog, right? And so on and so forth, right?
That's Mark Dean, and then I know the funeral. Is it the one on the corner of I guess that's 5th and Main?
Down, yeah. Probably.
Yeah, it's on the corner. It's on Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know everybody, right? Meanwhile, people are upset that they can't use the parks, right? What's wrong with the streets?
Yeah.
They can't use the gyms.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the streets?
I agree.
Right? They don't have they don't have the fancy crap that they've become accustomed to, so they can't do anything else.
You can't
right?
do it. Yeah. You can't do a push up.
You can't do a push up. You know what? There was a very funny thing. I don't know in which state it was, but it was one of the states. There was these people protesting at one of the governor's mansions or whatever, that the gyms were all closed. You know what the protest was? They were exercising outside the mansion. I'm saying to myself, So what's the problem here?
Yeah, what's
you know?
going on?
You know, it's like I remember there was a story many years ago. A kid called Elian Gonzalez that you may recall.
Yeah, was he the kid that was he? Did they try to take him out of the country or something?
Yeah, that was afterwards. He originally came over here on a raft with his mother. I think his mother passed away on the trip, and he survived. And then there was a big to-do later
Big raid,
about bringing him back. But one of the things that really pissed me off was they showed an example of him getting brought up. I know you're looking at the time, getting brought up in Cuba. And they showed him playing soccer. Well, not him, but somebody like him playing soccer on a dirt field in Cuba, and as an example of how poor the lifestyle in Cuba was.
Yeah.
I never saw in my entire life in Ireland AstroTurf.
Okay.
I always played on a dirt field.
Yeah, wasn't a thing, huh?
Right. You know, it's like, you know, so we don't have the AstroTurf, so we can't train. We don't have the gym, so we can't exercise. You know, like, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah.
Like I said, I can show you, I don't know their names, but I can show you 5 people in the entire months that I've been out walking.
Well, I got a field by my house that I walk the dog up to and walk back.
Right.
So I'm going to extend it past, see if I can run into you now a couple times.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, it's madness. It's the herd mentality.
Yeah.
It goes back to this. It's the same thing as Walmart. It's exactly the same thing as without the marketing, right? But it's the herd mentality, which is exercise, gym.
Yeah.
Exercise, the park. So the park and the gym are closed. Therefore, I can't exercise.
Yeah. So I'm gonna first off, I agree with you 100%, but I'm gonna defend those just briefly, and it's not a good defense because I don't agree with it. But you know, working out, in my opinion, is difficult. You know, because you don't want to do it. Usually, don't want to do it. It's too easy. It's easier to sit on the couch and eat something, right? So, in order for me to work out, I need to get my mind right. I need to get up to the gym where I can see the equipment and good-looking girls and then people who are in shape that I want to be like them. And I just got to get in that mindset in order for me to punish my body to be better, right? And so that's the argument, right? Like I can't go there, so now it's a downhill spiral. So I challenge them, and I challenge anybody who thinks that way to use your head. Do 50 push-ups. I guarantee you'll enjoy that workout. And if the push-ups are too easy, put your hands out further, do more push-ups or lower, right? It's the whole thing. So exercise, and then somewhere along the lines in the 40s and 50s and 60s, the doctors were incentivized to approve this federal diet that had bread and sugars and the priorities of how to eat. And we're finding out now that was one of the worst things, that like sugar alone potentially should be completely out of our diets.
Right. Well, I could talk for hours on food, so I won't get into that because
next
time,
next
time, because I cook from scratch. I do, I know a lot about. I had a restaurant for 5 years. And
okay,
I know a lot about food, but
I'm gonna take you up on that though, because that's something that I've really kind of dove into. So
cool,
let's do that.
All right.
Hey man, thanks.
Cool.
Appreciate you coming on.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cole.